All right. So welcome back to today's class. We had a challenge yesterday. I'm sorry about that, but it's all sorted out now and we are good. So we were supposed to start with the introduction yesterday, and obviously that's where we're going to start. And I was trying to introduce you to the whole concept of data analytics, what it's all about. So you have a clear, like a broader picture of what you're getting into before we even get into it. All right. So we talked about all the tools you'll be using, which is Excel, Power BI, and then your SQL. These are the major data analytics tools that you're going to be using when you begin to work as a data analyst. Though there may be other tools, obviously there will be other tools, but those may either be company tools, maybe the industry you're working for, they certainly will have their own personal softwares that they use for different things. It could be for automation, for record keeping, whatever it is, or even for performing your own personal task. But the basic ones you should know before you can, land any role as a data analyst are these ones that we are going to be handling. All right, that said, now you don't need Python. Let me just make it clear from the beginning here, because some persons were mentioning Python. So Python is not a data analytics tool. You don't need Python for anything, all right? Because it's none of your business using Python. Python is basically for data science, all right? You use Python for data science. You are not a data scientist. So when you come to an organization, there's always um the way they divide these roles. All right. So an organization would have a data analyst, an organization will have a data scientist, they will have a data engineer, they will have a data administrator or a database administrator. All these people, they will some even have some will go ahead and some will also have business analyst. All right. So all these people, they have their different role. The jobs are divided. What a data analyst does is not what a data scientist does. It's not what a data engineer does. So data engineers are in charge of creating the structure that all of you work with, the pipelines and all that. While the data scientist does most of the um sort of like the Python job, they use Python for their own work. They do a lot of the what is it called? Let me just call it the programming part. They do more of the technical parts. Then the data analyst is now the one who is in the business side. Business analysts, data analysts, they are the ones looking at what is going on, looking at data to, turn those data into information and help the organization to make decisions direct. Also, you're more uh you're more closer with the management team, the sales team, maybe the marketing team and all that. Then the data administrator is the one who is in charge of, sorry, the database administrator is the one who is in charge of database, giving access to who has, limiting access to, because you have anyway, when we get into this class, we'll get deeper, you'll understand more about your role and all of that. So you don't cross your boundaries, okay? And that said, let's now jump into it. So what is data analytics really? Why am I doing this course? What is in here for me? Now let's start by defining data. Let's understand what data is all about. First, what is data? Please just bear with me. Okay. What is data? Data can be seen as the smallest unit of a factual information that can. So people used to argue that data is same as information, information is same as data, there's no difference, they are the same thing. But we are going to find out if truly they are the same. Okay. So data is actually the small unit of the facts or figures, the small unit of facts or figures, that has not been processed, that has not been organized, it has not been summarized, or it has not been analyzed. Please, I would like everybody to just mute. Let me, okay, let me help you do that. Okay, so data, for example, if I give my students here, I give everybody exam here to write, and then some of you, now I just meet everybody. So some of you score, maybe somebody score 10, somebody score 20, 50, 30. All those numbers are data. They are not nothing. You can't really use it to make any sense until you arrange these numbers, you summarize them. Maybe you want to get the average score. You now get the average. That one is now information. You can make decision with it, or you want to get the total score by students, or you want to now group students to know who got A or who got B. So you can say people that score from 80 to 100, they got A. People that score from 60 to 70, they score B. So you want to know how many students scored are in the A category, how many students. So the teacher can now use that to know how many of the students are doing well and how many of the students are not doing well. That can now help him to maybe change the pattern of teaching or improve, or, it will help him to make decision with that data. So when you process data, when you organize them or when you analyze data, it now gives you information. What you can use to make decisions or derive insights is information and not data. But you cannot have information without data. I don't know if you're following. So most of the times, you're going to be getting data. All the data sets you're going to be working with are data. They are not information. It is now your job to analyze them to arrive at an information, all right, based on what is given to you to work on, or based on the questions that you're supposed to answer, or all of that. So I don't know if you can still hear me. Can you still hear me?
Yes, we can hear
Okay,
you.
good. Okay, good. So data is anything. For example, Juliet, if Juliet's score is 80, Juliet scored 80 in the project. 80 is a unit of information, and Juliet is a unit of information. They are different data when you separate them. Juliet is a data. Anything can be Juliet. It can be name of day. It can be name of person. Then 80, anything can be 80. It can be name of person. It can be, sorry. So what I'm trying to say is that data can come in different forms. It can be in numbers. It can be in figures. It can be in, okay, exactly. There is no information without data. You cannot have information. It's just like food. You cannot have food without the raw, for example, rice. You cannot have a jollof rice without the raw rice. That raw rice is the data. It doesn't make any sense. You can't eat it when it is still raw. But when you now cook it, organize it very well, analyze it, put all the ingredients, put everything, it comes out as jollof rice. The jollof rice is information, while that raw rice is data. So, as I was saying, Juliet, when you now bring Juliet and the score together, it can now make sense as information. Juliet scored 80. And another thing you should mind, okay, I was telling you that data can come in different forms. It can come in words. Juliet is a word, right? Mercy is a word, all those things. It can come in numbers, that's in figures, 80, 100. It can come in pictures. It's just like when you have puzzle, those pieces of puzzle, that is data. On their own, they don't make any sense. You can't make any sense out of them. But when you now put all the puzzles together, you set them, you can now see the clear picture. Maybe if it is supposed to be an image, when you pieces all the image, the head, the tail, they are just data. You can't make any sense out of it until you assemble them together. It becomes an information, and then you can make a decision. So that your decision is that, oh, this thing is so animal. Maybe you're trying to form a lion. You can now see clearly that, oh, the lion has been formed after assembling all the pieces of that puzzle together. All right. So when you talk about numbers, you also have to put in mind that they are based on the context. Whenever you talk about data, remember data is not processed yet, it's not an information yet. So it is based on concepts. For example, let me give you an example. If I say 20, if I say 20, that 20 is data. Now, it depends on the concept or correct context that we are talking about that 20. If it is in the context of student score, we can know that, oh, a student score 20 is a score. That same 20 now can change to something else if we move it to maybe where we have people, students. It can turn to age. That 20 can become a student is 20 years old. It's no longer a student score. If we now take it to the market, that same 20 can turn to 20 naira. If we take that 20 to UK, it can turn to 20 pounds. If so, it depends on the context. That is where, when we get to a point when I'll teach you about domain. Now, domain, like because when you begin to go for your interviews, there's something we call domain knowledge. You have to understand the domain that you want to work for, because the way you handle hospital data is different from the way you handle employees' data. They are totally different things. The kind of words and languages and numbers you'll be seeing in a hospital data is entirely different. If you're talking about business data, maybe sales data, it is different. If you're talking about employee HR data, it is entirely different. If you're talking about maybe energy, you're working for an energy company, EDC, or power holding company, their data is different. So the context matters a lot. You have to put that in mind. If you're working for maybe a recruitment company, maybe a logistic company, or if you're even working for a bank, banking data is different. That is where context comes in. But don't be scared. All of these things will make sense to you by the time we go for that. So, for example, assume I work in a store. I could record a piece of paper on a piece of paper every sale that I make. This is data. So if you sell pen, you write it. If you sell, so at the end of the day, when it will now make sense is when you want to close your book for the day, your sales ledger. Now you can now say, okay, today I made I sold 10 pen. I sold total amount I made today. This is total profit, total loss, total expenses. It becomes information. You can now decide whether you made profit today or you are running at loss, or you can also see the product that is selling more, the product that customers want more. That will now help you to check your stock and know if that favorite product that a lot of people like will have enough stock. If you don't have enough stock, you may want to restock for tomorrow. So with data, you can now, process your data to get an information that will help you to make decision. So now let's talk about okay, let's talk about what is okay, let me see. What is oh, sorry. So that is basically what you get, what I wanted what I wanted you to know about data. Now, what is analysis? Because we're talking about data analysis, data analytics. Now, what is analysis? Why, first of all, let's look at why do we even need to analyze? Why is this thing giving me? What is analysis? Because when you talk about data, we also want to know what is analysis. Why are we even analyzing? That's really messed up my Okay. You see? I don't know why. Okay. This is crazy. I think I need to okay. So let's look at what is analysis. Analysis, okay, why analyzing data? I think from my explanation of data, you already know why we analyze, because we want to turn that data into information, right? So we all analyze data subconsciously in our daily life. Data analysis is what makes you pick a number. So even without knowing, you analyze data every single day. Remember, I told you that data can come in different forms. It can be words, it can be figures, it can be pictures, it can be observation. So if you want to leave your house sometime, maybe during the rainy day, you cannot come out and say, okay, I want to pick an umbrella. Or maybe you're expecting that it's going to be sunny. How did you decide that? You just came out of your house and then you look at the cloud. You saw that it's becoming cloudy. That observation is data. You just picked data from the sky. You saw that it's going to be cloudy. Then you made a decision to pick your umbrella. So you have picked up the weather and then you analyze it in your mind and feel that, oh, it's going to rain. Then you picked up your umbrella. So you're already analyzing data, even in your daily life on a daily basis. Every single decision you make, the clothes you wear is based on something. Maybe let's say you work in a bank and on Monday you're supposed to wear this, on Tuesday you're supposed to wear on this, on Thursday you're supposed to wear native. You are not just picking any random clothes in your house to wear to work. You are picking a cloth based on data, based on what is going to happen that day at the office. Everything you do in your life is you're analyzing data on a day, in fact, on a second basis. The food you eat, everything, the kind of phone you're using it for a reason. You've analyzed, so you made an informed decision by picking an umbrella. Data analysis is essentially helping businesses understand. So the same way you make your own decision in your own personal life, in your family, what your family is going to eat, what your children, the kind of school you want to put them. You put your children in particular school based on some facts, some data that you've gathered. Maybe you heard that this school is doing really well. The students in this school are, performing so well. So let me put my school there for some personal reasons. So let me know, I won't put my students in this particular school because this school maybe is expensive and you can afford it. You're analyzing, you have data, so once you have enough data, it is easy for you to make informed decisions. All right. So you're able to make all of these decisions because of data. Now, this is exactly your job in an organization. That's personal decisions you've been taking. You now bring it into a larger scale. You want to have an organization make decisions, business decisions that is going to affect their income or their revenue. And you're not a magician, you're not a prophetess or a prophet. So they're not bringing you there to come and start helping them make decisions without tools. And the tools you're going to be using to do that is data. They will always give you their data. If you're working for Amazon, for example, Amazon will plug you into their database. They'll be feeding you with their data. This is the data. This is how many sales we've made today. So it is not left for you to go into that data and begin to analyze it. And how do you do that? Through using of tools. These tools you're going to learn how to use. Use it to, open up the data. Maybe you want to check the best-selling products. You want to say, okay, this product is not really doing well. You look, you do a deeper dive and see why. Okay, this country, we are making more sales in this country. This branch is doing so well. This person, So the same thing with Amazon. If you're working with Netflix, for example, you're looking at their movie data sets, sorry, their movie database. You're looking at which movie genres are people interested in, romantic movie, scary, horror movies. You're looking at how many people are watching this particular movie, because if I go to Netflix and I watch a Korean movie, now, when I come back next time, it cannot start showing me an American movie. You begin to pop up, just like when you go to your TikTok or your Facebook. If you watch a particular video from a particular page, when you come back, they will begin to show you more video from that page or similar videos that is, similar to the previous one you watched, because somebody somewhere is monitoring what you did, what you're doing each time you're online, or let's say each time you're on Netflix, the movie you're watching. They will make sure that next time you come back, you log in, they're showing you similar movie, because they've looked at your interest. They know the kind of thing you like. They want to show you, they want to make it easy for you so that you keep coming. All right. So this is the job of a data analyst. They are picking data to make decisions. This is how you now, when you go to that Netflix and you keep watching those movies, next Netflix, of course, will keep making money from you, AdSense, ad revenue, and all of that. They'll keep making money. So if it's a platform where you're supposed to subscribe, you definitely want to subscribe. So they keep making money. So you're helping so the data analyst there is helping the organization to make money, to increase their revenue, to make their decisions. Now, if you love Korean movie and after watching a Korean movie, you log out, when you come back, they're not showing you another thing that you don't like, you may get angry and log out and go away. So they are going to start losing money because they are losing customers, and that should not happen. That is where data analysis comes in. This applies to every single sector. All right. So let's look at why data analysis is important. Data has been described as the new oil well, obviously, in the digital economy. It's an amount of data. So date back from, if you go back to from 2020, sorry, from 2000 to 2007, there were really no much data available then to make different kind of decisions, even though people really still got by then, but they didn't have enough data. There was just about 281 million gigabytes, which is really, really small compared to 2012 when everything went up. Data, there was not enough data. Now imagine that time, 2012. Now compare it to now. You can even see that on your own from the social media space. Then people didn't even have phones. People don't have, even those that have, just few people that have phone. People were not really on social media and all that. So, but now, if you're a business person and you want to make more sales, you have to go and make that sale on social media, because that's where everybody is. There's enough data right now. There's so much data. Every industry depends on data to make decisions. That is why it is very important for you to jump into this sector right now, because in fact it is projected that in the next coming years, in the next 5 years, 10 years, what the amount of data I have now will be tripled, to be doubled, because the population, of course, will keep increasing and more companies will keep relying on data. So this data analytics career can never go into extinct. It's not even the type of career that AI can even come into or take your job or anything, as long as you know what you're doing. Because data will keep increasing on a daily basis. People will keep relying on data, making decisions every day. So companies will always need you to help them. Now, data is the new oil well, How smart devices gather data. So you see all those smart watches. Okay, I think I've mentioned something like Facebook, Google. So sometimes when you go to when you go to Google to search something, maybe you want to search a Nike shoe, you search for a Nike shoe, now you check out the Nike shoe, you like it, you just save the picture on your phone, then you go away. When you pick up your phone again and log into your Facebook, you begin to see ads, Nike shoe, people selling Nike shoe. They'll begin to show you a lot of Nike shoe to buy. If you go to TikTok, the same thing, ads on Nike shoe will keep popping up, you know. So this is how it works. It is through data. They are actually um looking at what you're interested in. Everybody's interested on your interest. They want to give you exactly what you need. That is just the fact. Like that's this Apple Watch that you be using, all these Apple smartwatches. Do you know that these Apple Watches, they help you read your temperature, they help you read your mind. Like they read your body temperature, your heartbeats. In fact, that's the way you're going to input to something they call SOS on that Apple Watch. Then if you are going, if you're driving, for example, and you are involved in an accident, the person is involved in an accident, this Apple Watch is going to immediately call your loved ones to inform them that there's an accident. So how does it work? It is through data. That Apple Watch is reading your data, is reading your heartbeat, for example, and is also reading your temperature. So when you're driving on a high speed, they already know the speed that you're supposed to be on. And if that speed suddenly stops, they will suspect that it's an accident because they expect that if you're accelerating, so if you're supposed to stop, you're supposed to deaccelerate gradually from 80 to 70 to 60 to 50 down to zero. That is the normal way you're supposed to stop, right? But if you're now accelerating at a high speed and suddenly it goes down to zero, they will read danger. They will know that, oh, there's a problem. They will automatically call your SOS number. Could be your loved one or anybody. So this gadget, this device, they pick up data. They work with data from your body. And it's just like that. So this is so powerful. Data analytics is so powerful that it is not something that anybody wants to come and tell you that AI will do this or do that. As long as you're good, you know what you're doing. So now let's talk about data. What are the different forms of data that we're going to be working with all through this training? We're going to be dividing data into the two different categories, the structured data and unstructured data. Those are the two forms of data. So the structured data is going to be, how do I explain it? Structured data, basically they are the well-organized data. That's something we call RDBMS. You're going to understand this, the RDBMS, better when we get to SQL. So RDBMS are just the relational database management system. So these kind of data are structured. They are structured in table, always in table. So you have your serial number, you have your name, like the table heading. They are structured in columns and in rows. This is how data is saved in the database. Then which we also have the other one, which is the unstructured data. So the unstructured data are the ones that are not structured. They are not in tables, such as your video, your music. Those ones are not structured. There's no way you can structure a video. PDF files, those are not really structured. But we are going to be working mostly with structured data. Every data set you're going to be getting will be structured. They will be structured in a table. Always, 99% of the time, your data will be structured in a table for you to analyze or for you to work with. All right. So just take note of that we have the structured and the unstructured data. So this is how it looks. The structured data you talk about anyway can be both quantitative and in different ways. It can be numbers, it can be letters, it can be anything. But the unstructured one is not really it's not really our concern, but just note that some data is not structured, like videos, like you can still work with video, but they are really rare, like really, really rare. All right, so now let's talk about the tools you're going to be using. The tools we are going to be using, I don't know why my system actually malfunction, but this one would have been nice if we displayed it. So these are all the tools we are going to be using. Data analytics tool. You have your, sorry. You have your Excel. I think I've mentioned that already. We have Excel spreadsheets. So the spreadsheet is generally where you're going to be like having a spreadsheet. No, so Excel is not a storage. You cannot store information in Excel, okay? You cannot store information. Give me a minute. Hello? Yeah, I'm having a class now. Tell her that we'll have a class. I'll call her. So sorry. So we have these spreadsheets. Now spreadsheets are just like your normal sheets, like your normal exercise book where you record just number, just tables, mostly tables. So any sheets that you use to record structured data like tables or anything, they are spreadsheets. There are different spreadsheets. You have the Google Sheets, you have the Microsoft Excel sheets, which is the most popular one, which is the one we're going to be using. Maybe we can also touch on Google Sheet, but they are basically the structure is the same thing. Excel, Google Sheets, you have many of them, but the most popular one is Excel. So this Excel, we're going to be downloading it. If you already have it, fine. But make sure the one you have is 20 from 2021, or even if you have 2016, it's still okay. But the most updated one is from 2021. But if you don't have it, you can also use the one online, Microsoft Excel 365. That one is online. So it's up to date, 100%. All right. So, but the difference is just that when you're using the older version, there are some functions we are going to be using that you will not be able to find in those older version, but in the new version, okay? So Excel is a very powerful. This is the logo of Excel. Then you also have your business intelligence tool. So this business intelligence tool is the one you use to do your visualization mostly. And we have Power BI, we have Tableau, we have Looker Studio, and many of them. So this Looker Studio is online, while this Tableau is paid. You have to pay to use Tableau, but Power BI is free. At least the desktop version is free. You can do everything you want to do on Power BI for free. And it is the most widely used intelligent tool is Power BI, which is the one we are going to be using. 90% of the company you'll be working with, they all use Power BI. All right. Then, of course, the query tool or the programming tool. So the query tool, you have so many of them. You have Microsoft SQL Server, you have MySQL Workbench, you have Postgre, you have BigQuery, BDiva, dbeaver, you have Oracle. There are so many of them, so many. Okay, but the most popular one here is the MySQL Workbench. Okay, which is the one we are going to be making use of. So let's look at the data analysis process. What is the process of data analytics? Since we now know what is data, we now know what is analysis, why we should do analysis, the tools we can be using to do analysis, what are the processes? How do we do this analysis? Number one is to gather your data. If you're doing analysis, you must gather data, all right? It is very important. So we are still going to look at how do we gather data. There are so many ways you can gather data, okay? Now, when you gather this data, You have to clean it. Data cleaning is a very popular topic uh in data analytics. Data cleaning. So you can never work with the data that's given to you. Because imagine if you're doing a question, if you're using a questionnaire, so or maybe the people, because most times you may not even be the one collecting data. You may not be the one gathering data. In most cases, they'll just hand you over a data. All right. So if the kind of data they've handed you is a questionnaire that was filled by people, maybe people online or offline, sometimes some places that they're supposed to fill their name, they may not fill it. Some places that are supposed to put maybe their age, some important information, they may not fill it. And then they will submit and give you those data like that. Now, how do you work with such data? Because if you work with a data that is not clean, you most definitely arrive at the wrong answer. So you have to clean that data and make sure it's okay before you start to work with it. Then after cleaning your data, the next thing you're going to do is what? Yes, the query tool is free. Yes, Rahim. The query tool is true. Yeah, SQL Workbench is true. I'm going to walk you through how to do anyone that we're going to use when we get to any of these two, we'll download it before we start using it. Okay, so don't worry yourself, just follow me. All right. So after cleaning your data, the next thing you're going to do is to analyze. You start analyzing, which is the actual process. You analyze the data and then visualize it. This visualization is the final. It's like writing a report. After doing all your analyzing and your findings, this is now where you now write your reports and then present it to your stakeholders that this is the findings, this is what I think we should do. You now give recommendations. After deriving your insights, you tell the organization this is what you should do. And once they do it, boom, their business will start to flourish. So you're actually a miracle worker. You are a prophetess, a prophet. Because you tell them what to do and they will do it and it will work. So let's look at how do we gather data? Data gathering. Gathering data, this involves getting your data from variety of sources, either downloading manually or programmatically, scraping the web, performing survey, accessing an API, or even connecting to a database. The different may require different tools to do. Now, like I mentioned, there are different ways. The example I gave you that when you wake up in the morning and you look at the sky, and then you now decide that, oh, I want to hold my umbrella in case it rains. You have gathered data by observation. You looked at the sky, you saw it was going to rain. You've gathered data, information, right? Now, there are different ways you can get data from web scraping from a website. You can get data from API, maybe you're connected to an API or something, and then you're getting data. It could even be from a database. And this is the most popular place because if you're working for a bank, for example, all the data you need is already in their database. It's just for you to go there and write query to get the data you need. Now let's look at other form of gathering data. Data can come from all these forms through survey. So if you're doing survey and then you meet people and you ask them questions and they give you answers. That is survey. You're gathering data gradually from them. I'm having a class now. All right. Yeah. So if you ask questions, survey, they give you the information. That is you're gathering data. It can be through transactions. So if you go to ShopRite or you go to an eatery, and after buying all the things you're buying, you bring all the things, all the groceries you bought, you brought them to the counter and they scan it. Each of those scanning, they are collecting, that is data. Each time they scan it, it sends all the information about that product to the database. So the data analyst will now have access to it in their database. All right. Once they scan it, bam, it goes to the database. Once they scan it. So at the end of the day, All the sales that were made that day, all of them are in the database. The time it was made, the particular product that was bought, the exact time it was bought, the amount, the quantity, all those things are all in the database. So the data analyst can just query the database and get all the information and then work with it. So interview, you can also get data from interviewing people and recording. It could be online interview, it could be online survey, it could be offline as well. So questionnaires through video, observation. So all these are the different, there are so many ways you can get data, so many ways. All right, but you may not actually worry yourself about this because you are not the one getting data in most cases. While sometimes you may be the one, but in most cases, if you're working in big organization, you don't have any problem with data. Like I just give an example of a business. So the business scans every sale. So your own is just to go and query the database. Like even in a bank, for example, you don't have any business going to gather data by yourself because each customer's information is in the database. So whatever you need, you just go to the database, just know how to query the database, and then you get the data that you need to work with. All right. So let's look at the next one, which is data cleaning. Remember, data cleaning. So what is this data cleaning? This is the part that takes up to now 80% of your time as a data analyst. Whenever you're working on any project, you're going to spend most of your time cleaning data because, in fact, once you have a clean data, your job is done already. Once you have a clean data, your job is done. You're good to go, like you're done. It's just for you to simply analyze, just drag and drop, then visualize and submit or go and present it. Where the problem is, like there was one time my friend called me. He works with he worked in Abuja. So he works with this federal parastatal, these people, this because federal government has their arm where they give out loan to people. He works with that particular government something. So any person that wants to collect loan, you go to them, they give you loan in their office, you give them your collateral and all that. So, and a lot of people, all these that it was when I worked on that data that I now realized that most of these big businesses you're seeing, many of them are what they are surviving on loans. Many of them have billions of loans. Dangote, all these people, all these big businesses, all of them are on heavy loans, and they will use those their businesses, those their companies as collateral. So when the guy brought the data set, it was so dirty. In fact, it took us almost 1 week cleaning the data because it was really large and it was so dirty, like God. So we started rearranging everything, cleaning it. So this cleaning process takes most of your time once you successfully because if you work with dirty data that is not clean, whatever result you're getting is wrong automatically. So you just end up wasting all of your time presenting a wrong result. Imagine giving a wrong information to your organization and once you give wrong information, that automatically leads to wrong decision. All right. So you see why it is very important to make informed, to clean data before you start. So you're going to spend up to 80% of every analyst time because unclean data is dangerous and could often cause misleading conclusion. It is therefore necessary to clean data to make it trustworthy and suitable for analysis. Very, very important. So there are 3 basic rules to cleaning your data. So these 3 rules, you're going to understand it when we jump into Excel, okay? I'm going to come back to it and explain it better to you. But let me just mention them anyway so that you get to know that these are actually there. Each variable must form. In fact, you don't understand it, no need. When we get to Excel, I will explain it. So this is where it ends. This is our introduction. Everything I wanted you to have at the back of your mind before we start the actual class, okay? And I would like to take questions because I wouldn't want to bore you. So tomorrow, next class on Wednesday, we'll start with introduction to Excel. So we can now jump into Excel and start using Excel. You can see this is how Excel looks. Very, very interesting. So I'd like to take questions from you if you have any. So we can now discuss further on your questions. All right. You can just unmute straight up and talk. Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Sunday.
Good evening.
How are you?
I want to ask, as a data analyst, is your job just collecting the data, cleaning it,
Please, we
analyzing
can't
it,
hear you,
or
sir. We cannot hear you, sir.
okay, okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, so as a data analyst, is your job basically just analyzing data, cleaning it, visualizing them for an organization, or you are also serving your
Hello.
those zones?
I didn't get the last part.
Okay. Is it also the job of a data analyst to assist and like
Are you still speaking? Maybe you can write. Your network is not good. Maybe you can write. Hello. Hello. Hi, Mr. Sunday. Good evening. Can you still hear me? We can't hear you actually. So maybe you can write. So someone else can just write.